The tale of Freaky Faith can only be traced back to the early 80s. Not much is known of her current whereabouts, but the urban legends that surround her name are certainly not to be forgotten. Little documentation remains of her to this day, but local authorities who investigated her case were only able to get a brief eyewitness account of what occurred the night that the Visage cult house burned to the ground. Freaky Faith was a young woman, around the age of 15, whose original name was Olivia Summers. She lived a suburban lifestyle on the outskirts of Kearney, Nebraska, and spent most of her days outside hanging out with her friends. There came one October night in the year of 1983, where all of Olivia's friends dared her to enter the nearby woods as part of a prank. There had already been talks of strange ongoings out there, and rumors of a cult that only went by the name of Visage conducting the occult rituals, but this didn't discourage Olivia. She was a fearless young girl and wanted to prove to her friends that the woods were perfectly safe. Olivia's friends waited at the borders of the woods for well over a half hour, according to their accounts, before they heard screams in the distance. Someone had taken Olivia before her friends were able to have police chase down her kidnappers. They searched the surrounding woods for a few weeks, only to come back to a secluded, old, abandoned church that remained abandoned since the days of the French colonialists. An investigation that explored the surrounding areas and the interior of the church left investigators with zero clues as to the whereabouts of Olivia. She went missing for a year, no trace of where she was taken or where she was being kept. That remained true until March 4th, 1984. After a year of having been hidden from the public and from the authorities, Olivia's mind had been warped beyond comprehension. She now sided with her captors and had become the latest member of Visage, or rather, became their latest sacrifice. Part of the reason Visage was feared as a cult was the fact that they were known to brainwash young teens and young adults into becoming members of their cult to serve a singular purpose: to be sacrificed on March 4th to an omnipresent deity simply referred to as the Form. They attributed a blood sacrifice to being a supernatural fuel that fed the Form, and granted them special privileges in life. The new believers were so confident in their beliefs that many of them were more than proud to die in a pile of burning wood before a burning cross that the followers believed released the souls of those sacrificed to the Form. But there was one part of the ceremony that was always reserved for a young woman. A young woman was bound to the cross and separately set ablaze after the bodies of others had piled up atop a large bonfire. Olivia was this year's chosen sacrifice. She waited in line as her fellow members respectfully took their positions inside the pile of dry wood and branches. The Visage member in charge of the ceremony promptly lit the branches ablaze, and the other members surrounding the fire began to chant. Olivia's heart began to race as the fire slowly spread over the other members who were to be sacrificed. But something inside her mind changed. She began to panic as the realization of what was coming next began to overwhelm her. She tried to run, but two large members dragged her by her flailing arms to the cross and tied her to the wooden structure by rope. After having been raised up, the wood beneath her was ignited. Olivia flailed and kicked at the flames, screaming as they slowly crept over her body. She was slowly roasted alive as the flames ate away at her. The flames made their way quickly over her torso and spread all the way out to her wrist, where she was bound to the cross. After a few tugs and pulls, she broke free from the cross and fell to the ground. One of the other members tried to rush towards her to force her back into the fire, but she was too quick for him. She grabbed a large, burning branch and struck the oncoming member across the head, knocking him to the ground and lighting his head on fire. Olivia went on the attack with her branch and continued to strike other members, setting each of them ablaze. She laughed in a pattern only a true psychopath could manage to utter forth. She finally came to the member who was in charge of the ceremony and struck him to the ground with the branch. She lifted the branch up and continued to strike his face, striking repeatedly with the fire-covered weapon until his face was both broken and burnt. She removed the religious text that all Visage members carried from their pockets and set it ablaze. She continued to laugh evilly, releasing the pain and torment she had experienced over the course of an entire year. She fled the area shortly after, same as the other members who escaped her wrath. Police officers arrived later at the scene after the smoke in the forest disclosed the location of where Visage's latest round of sacrifices was being killed. They were able to locate all but one sacrifice, whose body has not been found to this day. The only reason I can recall these events is because I was the one sacrificial body that was never discovered. I survived the events of that night, only to regret them to this day. I see the error of my ways and acknowledge in this letter that the crimes I must personally answer for. But I'm writing this letter now for my son. I spotted Freaky Face last Monday, and know that my life will soon draw to its close. There has been too many missing posters going up and bodies being found having been burned alive. I've only recognized a few, and I know she will come for me soon. My son's mother passed away 2 years ago, and I am all that he has. But I raised a good son and lived an honest life. He can take care of himself, but I hate to have to say goodbye. Isaiah, if I die mysteriously, you find this letter, run. Leave this place. Move as far away from here as you can. I do not want the same fate to befall my only son. Make haste in your escape and heed my warning. If you or anyone else has the misfortune of ever encountering Freaky Faith, pray to our God who created you, because you will be nothing but ash and cinders once she has finished with you.